The beautiful thing about Battlebit Remastered is it has developers that issue updates frequently, as developers that listen to community feedback. And when you think they're going to issue a small update, it actually ends up turning into a super big one. So initially they posted a bunch of pistol patch notes up here. I was like, okay, we're getting a pistol rework. That's nice. I made a video on that. If you want to see it, it's live on the channel. But then they go ahead and drop this on us tonight, a complete rework to SMGs in the game that is going to completely change how viable very meta SMGs and PDWs are, and it's going to make assault rifles much more viable. It's going to make the AS Vol much more viable. We'll talk about that. And they also just announced literally 2 seconds ago a change to the LAD6 and M249. So we're going to go over all that in this video. We're going to tell you our thoughts on what's going to be the next meta in the game, because honestly, it's going to change completely. So let's get into it. So something that's been a complaint of the community for very long is how much range SMGs have. It feels like assault rifles are very unviable because SMGs have like 75 to 100 meter range in many cases. Even though the fall off doesn't start till 50, it doesn't get noticed till around like 75 to 100 meters. And in Battlebit, unless you're using a DMR or a sniper, you're not really engaging in combat from beyond like 100 to 150 meters quite often. So it just felt like assault rifles were not viable. Well, now they are. So the MP7 got its damage fall off start and end reduced. The fall off start was reduced from 50 to 40, and the end was reduced to from 200 to 140. We don't get any information as to whether the fall off is going to be steeper or it's going to be the same or what, but this clearly nerfs the range of the MP7. But you'll notice as we go through the patch notes, besides the PP19, this is like the least nerf of range of any of the SMGs in the game. All the SMGs that you're going to see are going to be getting their range cut from like 50 to 20 that haven't already got their range cut. So the MP7 is going to still be the most viable SMG. It's going to be the most viable SMG in the game, in my opinion, especially for people who like to engage in 50 to 75 meter range combat with their SMG. So MP7, keep that in your mind. The MP7 is definitely going to be very strong still, but it is getting that range nerf. UMP, damage increase from 28 to 35. Holy cow. That's significant. That is significant, but it's getting a fire rate nerf from 70 to 650. So basically, it's kind of like what the AUG 3 should have been. 650 higher fire rate, higher damage weapon, but in pistol form. And it's getting its recoil increased from 1 to 1.3, horizontal recoil increase from 0.65 to 0.9. So that is also significant. I don't think they needed to do that if they're nerfing the damage fall off from 50 to 20 and the fall off end from 200 to 140. I don't think they needed to really mess with the recoil that much, but maybe because they're making the damage so good, I don't know. But in my opinion, it just doesn't make sense because now this thing's still going to have a low pick rate. So why would you do that? PP2000. Now this thing got some recent love in a recent update, and it's very good. It's very strong right now. It's like a top 2 or 3 SMG in the game. And it got its horizontal recoil increase from 0.5 to 0.7. Still not terrible, still pretty controllable. The damage fall off start was reduced from 50 to 20. The damage fall off end from 200 to 140. So they're giving a heavy range nerf. Now the PP2000 did not have much recoil at all to begin with, and so you could pretty much spray it from like 50 to 75 meters and poke people and destroy them. But now they're saying no more for that. They're nerfing that to 20, and I still wonder if they're going to make this fall off curve steep or the same or more gradual for SMGs, because if they're making the fall off curve steep and these things are only viable from like 20-25 meters in, the SMG pick rate, the SMG usage rate is going to plummet. Maybe it should. Maybe that's a discussion we need to have, but I'm just saying that's how it's going to be. And the PP19, same thing. It got a damage fall off start reduced from 50 to 40. Notice, like the MP7, not as significant of a change as the UMP and PP2000. So PP19 was always the SMG that you want to poke people at with range. It was always a lower fire rate, decent damage, not terribly low fire rate, but just decent fire rate, decent damage, solid all-around SMG, and it's still going to fit that mold in the new SMG meta. So the PP19 is going to be pretty strong, actually, especially for lower level players still. There's going to be better options, don't get me wrong, but for people who want to use SMGs, who love the medic class, who just want to use an SMG, PP19 and MP7 are going to be your viable options. Now, the Kriss Vector already had its range reduced, so it didn't make sense to reduce its range that much, but they did nerf the damage fall off from 200 to 150. Not sure who the hell sprays a Kriss Vector at 150 meters, but go for it, sure. Now this one hurts me. The MP5 was my baby. It needed to happen, man. It needed to happen, but it hurts. The MP5 is getting a damage fall off start reduced from 50 to 20 and end from 200 to 140. No more pocket assault rifle with the MP5. Again, it depends how steep the damage fall off is going to be on these scenes now. They don't say anything about that, but rip, dude. Like, SMGs are definitely going to be like the Frugus style map weapons, the Frugus Tensa weapons. Now they're going to be very specific, very niche. But it's a change that needed to happen. Maybe not that steep. Maybe it should have got the 50 to 40 treatment or the 50 to 35 treatment. I still don't know about the 50 to 20 treatment. That seems a little to me, because MP5s in almost every FPS game, if you go back to Modern Warfare 2019, other Call of Duty games, other FPS games that aren't Call of Duty, MP5s are usually a pretty decently ranged SMG, so I'm not quite sure what they're trying to accomplish here with the MP5 nerf. It feels like they could have maybe done a damage nerf or a fire rate nerf or something else like that to accomplish what they want to accomplish with it. Balance it how they've traditionally balanced weapons. Not sure about the range nerf thing, but while they're cutting all the SMGs range, it makes sense to cut the MP5's range. Now, this one I don't get to because the Honey Badger, I just made a video on how it's still vastly overrated. It's a strong weapon, but it's not as good as people think it is. Damage fall off and reduced from 200 to 150. Again, not sure who sprays the Honey Badger at like 150 plus meters, but sure, go for it. P90, similar to the MP5, this thing needed changes. The MP5 and the P90 were clear-cut, the top of the class, no reason to use any other SMG or PDW, really. And the P90 got its damage fall off start reduced from 50 to 20 meters and the end reduced from 200 to 140. Because of the RPM and the damage, it's still going to feel very viable, that P90, and because of the mag size. This thing is still going to feel very viable, but again, the rip to the people who love to spray people from 100 meters away with their SMG. You're going to actually have to use assault rifles and LMGs for that now. And the Scorpion Evo, didn't really think it needed a change in terms of range. Like, this thing's the most high recoil weapon in the game. Who the hell is spraying this thing from that far of a range? I don't get that. And then you see here they added some miscellaneous, like the Ultimax Night Vision ADS was fixed. And they just fixed some stuff around building and anti-grenade trophies. And dark flashbang option was added. That's good. Wait. This is good. This is a good change. So, like other games, you can add the dark flashbang option instead of the white, so you won't get blinded anymore. Like, you're not gonna get your eyes destroyed. That's pretty good. And engineers are getting a buff. They're not going to be able to repair 98% of the damages to vehicles instead of 50% to 70%. Why not just make it 100 at that point? But dang, engineers are getting a buff. Sadly, that means vehicles are getting a buff. Vehicles need a total rework, a total nerf in terms of their range, in my opinion. That's a whole separate conversation. But engineers did need some love. Entering and deploying on tanks will take 2 seconds instead of 4. Again, why are we buffing vehicles and whatever? That feels more like an engineer buff, but still. Grenades are no longer going to pass through vehicle windows and riot shields. Okay. But this is just a bunch of bug fixes. Okay. LED6 is getting a damage reduction, a vertical recoil reduction, a horizontal recoil reduction, a velocity increase, and a reload speed increase. So it's not getting a teeth. Why would they do that? The LED6 didn't seem like it had a high pick rate, and they're just kind of nerfing the damage, increasing the velo, and making the reload faster just to say they did changes. I didn't think the recoil was a problem, but why would you reduce the damage just to say you did it? If you're reducing recoil, we want to say, oh, we balanced this, but they didn't mess with the fire rate, so the TTK is not going to change that much. That just feels like a change for the sake of making changes, and I talked about that in my last video where they've been doing that lately. But the reload speed increase, it's negligible for the scenes, not as high as the reload speed increases for other things, but it's going to feel faster on the reload. And the bullet velo increase is good because LMGs, in my opinion, should have a little more range than ARs. So in my opinion, LMG should have a 700 bullet velo. The M249, very strong LMG, is getting ADS time reduced, so 0.35 to 0.3, and it's getting a run speed increase. Hey, that's pretty good. So more mobile for LMGs. I didn't expect them to do that, but hey, from 0.9 to 0.925, negligible, but still going to be noticeable. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to get back to the changes that were made to the SMGs. Your SG550s, your M4A1s, your AK5Cs, your AS Vault. hang on to the AS Vol. Go back and watch my video on the AS Vol. The AS Vol is, in my opinion, going to be one of the best all-around weapons in the game, especially for aggressive players who used to play the medic-style aggressive MP5 gameplay. The AS Vol is going to be one of the stronger weapons in the game. And the Honey Badger, in turn, gets a buff because the Honey Badger has a 40-meter fall-off start, and most of these SMGs got nerfed down to 20. So the Badger did get a buff. The Badger kind of got a passive buff by this. So the Badger and the Vol are going to be a lot more viable now. Groza is going to be viable, SG550, M4A1s, your favorite assault rifles, the AK-15, all going to be more viable now because they're going to be the weapons you're picking to spray from 75 meters plus. Now, you're not picking your MP5s, your P90s to kill targets from 75 to 100 meters away. You're going to be picking assault rifles and certain PDWs and carbines. So, very interesting update. Let me know which weapons you think are going to be the meta in the comment section below. I'll have another video on this when the patch comes out because I'll be able to actually test everything in more detail there. I'm just speculating here and I don't want to speculate for like 30 minutes and waste your time. But let me know in the comment section what you think is going to be the next meta weapon in Battlebit. Let me know if you think the meta is going to change significantly. Let me know what you thought of the video, and I'll see you next one. I'll see you hopefully when the update releases pretty soon. Hopefully by the time I schedule this video, the update hasn't released yet. Yeah, let's just hope that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching.